Welcome students. So we are continuing the tour with the political science. So students, in political science of +1, we are having the two books. We are starting with the second book, part B. Part B, political theory. So starting with the chapter 1, political theory and introduction. So today we will be covering the topics, what is politics and what we study in political theory. So, beginning with the what is politics? What is politics? Students, you would have noticed that people have different ideas about politics. That what politics is what about. So, political leaders and persons who contest elections and hold political office may argue that it is a kind of public service. Some others associate politics with manipulation and intrigue undertaken to pursue ambitions and satisfy wants. अब कई लोग कहेंगे पॉलिटिक्स क्या है कि पॉलिटिक्स के अंदर इलेक्शंस लड़े जाते हैं, पॉलिटिकल ऑफिस जो सर्विस की जाती है, और कईयों से अगर आप पूछोगे तो वो क्या कहेंगे कि पॉलिटिक्स को जो है मैनिपुलेट किया जा रहा है, लोग अपने स्वार्थ के लिए जो है काम कर रहे हैं, अपने स्वार्थ को पूरा करने के लिए, अपने एम्बिशंस को पूरा करने के अंदर जो है वो लगे रहते हैं और करप्शन जो है वो करते रहते हैं. So if you think politics is as what politicians do, if they see politicians defecting from parties, making false promises and claims, manipulating different sections, pursuing personal or group interests ruthlessly, and in worst case stooping to crime, they link politics with scams. तो बहुत से लोग जो हैं मैनिपुलेट करते हैं पॉलिटिक्स को, कई सेक्शंस को, सोशल सोसाइटी को, ठीक है, अपने पर्सनल हितों के लिए जो है मारकाट करवाते हैं, क्राइम करवाते हैं. So they link politics with scams. So prevalent is this way of thinking that when we see people in different walks of life trying to promote their interests by any means possible, we say they are playing the politics. So if we see a cricketer manipulating to stay in the team, or a fellow student trying to use his father's position, or a colleague in office mindlessly agreeing with the boss, we say he or she is playing dirty politics. So disillusioned by such pursuits of selfishness, with despair of politics, we say, I am not interested in politics, or that I am going to stay away from politics. So it is not only ordinary people who despair of politics, even businessmen and entrepreneurs routinely blame politics for their woes, even as they benefit from and fund various political parties. बहुत से आप बिजनेसमैन और एंटरप्रेन्योर्स भी करेंगे, डोनेशन भी देंगे और उससे फायदा seem to be adept at the game once they join it. So we are thus confronted with conflicting images of politics. Is politics an undesirable activity that we should stay away from and get rid of, or is it a worthwhile activity which we must engage in order to make a better world? तो क्या हमें पॉलिटिक्स से छुटकारा पाना चाहिए या हमें अपने आप को इसमें एंगेज करना चाहिए ताकि हम दुनिया को, एक विश्व को अच्छा बना सके? So it is unfortunate that politics has come to be associated with the pursuit of self-interest by any and every method. We need to realize that politics is an important and integral part of any society. So Mahatma Gandhi once observed that politics envelops us like the coils of a snake, and there is no other way out but to wrestle with it. तो महात्मा गांधी जी ने कहते हैं कि कोयल की तरह जो है एक सांप जो है, हमें पॉलिटिक्स जो है ऐसे एक जैसे सांप लिपटा होता है, ठीक है, कोयल के, तो वैसे पॉलिटिक्स जो है हमारे लिपटी हुई है, ठीक है. हम इससे लड़ने के अलावा और कुछ नहीं कर सकते, इससे छुटकारा नहीं पा सकते. No society can exist without some form of political organization and collective decision making. So a society that wants to sustain itself needs to take into account the multiple needs and interest of its members. A number of social institutions need and interest of its members A number of social institutions, such as the family, tribes, and economic institutions, have emerged to help people fulfill their needs, fulfill their needs and aspirations. So, such institutions help us to find ways of living together and acknowledging our obligations to each other. So, among such institutions, governments play an important part. So, how governments are formed and how they function is thus an important focus of politics. So, but politics is not confined to the affairs of government. In fact, what governments do is relevant because it affects the life of the people in many different ways. So we see that governments determine our economic policy and foreign policy and educational policy. So these policies can help to improve the lives of people, but an efficient or corrupt government can also endanger people's life and security. If the government in power allows caste and communal conflict, market close down and schools are shut, this disrupts our lives. We cannot buy things that we may need urgently. Those who are sick cannot reach the hospital. Even the school schedules get affected. Syllabi cannot be completed, and we may have to take extra coaching for the exams and pay tuition fees. So, if on the other hand, the government makes policies to increase literacy and employment, we may get an opportunity to go to a good school and a good, decent job. So, since the actions of the government affect us deeply, we take a lively interest in what governments do. We form associations and organize campaigns to articulate our demands. We negotiate with others and try to shape the goals that governments pursue. So, when we disagree with the policies of the government, we protest and organize demonstration to persuade our governments to change the existing laws. We passionately debate the actions of our representatives and discuss whether corruption has increased or decreased. So, we ask whether corruption can be rooted out, whether reservations for specific groups are just or not. We try to understand why some parties and leaders win elections. So, in this way, we look for the rationale underlying the prevalent chaos and decay and aspire to create a better world. So, to sum up, politics arises from the fact that we have different visions of that is just and desirable for us and our society. It involves the multiple negotiations that go on in society through which collective decisions are made. So, at one level, it involves what governments do and how they relate to the aspirations of the people. At another level, it involves how people struggle and influence decision making. People may be said to engage in political activity whenever they negotiate with each other and take part in collective activities which are designed to promote social development and help to resolve the common problems. So, next topic that we are moving is, what do we study in political theory? What we study in a political theory, we look around us, what we see would be movements, developments, and change. But we look deeper, we should also see certain values and principles that have inspired people and guided policies. Ideals like democracy, freedom, or equality, for instance, different countries may try to protect such values by enshrining them in their constitutions, as is the case with the American and Indian constitutions. So these documents did not just emerge overnight. They are built upon the ideas and principles debated almost since the time of Kautilya, Aristotle to Jean-Jacques Rousseau, Karl Marx, Gandhi, and Ambedkar. So as far back as 5th century BC, Plato and Aristotle discussed with their students whether monarchy or democracy was better. So in modern times, Rousseau first argued for freedom as a fundamental right of humankind. Karl Marx argued that equality was as crucial as freedom. Closer home, Gandhiji discussed the meaning of genuine freedom or Swaraj in his book Hind Swaraj. Ambedkar vigorously argued that the scheduled caste must be considered a minority and as such must receive special protection. So these ideas find their place in the Indian Constitution. Our preamble enshrines freedom and equality. The rights chapter abolishes untouchability in any form. Gandhiji principles find a place in directive principles. So next, political theory. Now, why we study the political theory? Political theory deals with the ideas and principles that shapes constitutions, governments and social life in a systematic manner. It clarifies the meaning of concepts such as freedom, equality, justice, democracy, secularism, and so on. It probes the significance of principles such as the rule of law, separation of powers, judicial review, etc. So this is done by examining the arguments advanced by different thinkers in defense of these concepts. Though Rousseau or Marx or Gandhi did not become politicians, their ideas influenced generations of politicians everywhere. So there are also contemporary thinkers who draw upon them to defend freedom or democracy in our own time. Besides examining arguments, political theories also reflect upon our current political experiences and point out trends and possibilities for the future. But is all this relevant for us now? Have we not already achieved freedom and democracy? While India is free and independent, questions regarding freedom and equality have not ceased to crop up. This is because issues concerning freedom, equality, democracy arise in many aspects of social life and they are in progress in different sectors at different paces. For instance, although equality may exist in the political sphere in the form of equal rights, it may not exist to the same extent in the economic or social spheres. People may enjoy equal political rights but still be discriminated against socially because of their caste or poverty. Some people may have a privileged place in society while others are deprived even of basic necessities. Some are able to achieve whatever goals they set for themselves, while many are unable even to go to school so that they can have decent jobs in the future. For them, freedom is still is a distant dream. So secondly, we see though freedom is guaranteed in our constitution, we encounter new interpretations all the time. This is a bit like playing a game. As we play chess or cricket, we learn how to interpret the rules. In the process, we discover new and broader meanings of the game itself. Similarly, the fundamental rights are guaranteed by our constitution are continually being reinterpreted in response to new circumstances. For instance, the right of life has been interpreted by the courts to include the right to a livelihood. The right to information has been granted through a new law. Societies frequently encounter new challenges which generate new interpretations. The fundamental rights guaranteed by our constitution have been amended and expanded over time through judicial interpretations and government policies which are designed to address the new problems. So thirdly, we see that as our world changes, we may discover new dimensions for freedom as well as new threats to the freedom. For instance, global communications. Technology is making it easier for activists to network with one another across the world for protecting tribal culture or forests. But it also enables terrorists and criminals to network. Moreover, internet commerce is all set to increase in the future. This means that the information we get about ourselves online to buy goods or services must be protected. So even though netizens means the citizens your products, chat rooms, should governments be allowed to read private emails to track down terrorists? How much regulation is justified? How much regulation is justified and who should regulate? Governments are some independent regulator. Political theory has a lot to teach us about possible answers to these questions and is therefore very relevant. So thank you students this much for a nice day.